Shabbat Shalom. We have made it past Tisha B'Av. There was a beautiful community service both in the evening and in the morning for Tisha B'Av. And now we can begin the process of healing, the process of recovery, the process of receiving comfort. And I have to admit that this year, during this time of year, we are in more need of comfort than perhaps at any other time in my own lifetime. That we are, as a nation, as a world, suffering both physical, social, and economic problems that sorely need to be dealt with, and hearts that sorely need comfort. Which then comes to the question, how do you do that? How do you offer comfort to somebody who is in pain? What do you say? And before you rush in to give me your examples, not that I thought anyone might, just be aware that as a rabbi and as someone who has frequently been with those who are in mourning and been around them as others come to offer their condolences, most people are terrible at this. Now, first of all, most people are just terrified of this, and so they avoid those who are grieving as though they were a zombie. I don't want to get too close to them, they're too sad. I'll call them when they're feeling better. I'll call them later on, because right now, I just don't even know what to do. That's not the right response. But it is slightly better than showing up, opening your mouth, and saying something incredibly painful or stupid or both. For example, I have been there as people have offered condolences in the time of a sudden death who said, well, at least they didn't suffer. Well, at least they didn't suffer. It sounds like a noble sentiment, and maybe indeed, in a few years, those who grieve will reflect that perhaps there was a certain quickness to their passing that did prevent undue suffering. But I can tell you from having seen this firsthand, that is a slap in the face to somebody who has just buried someone whom they never had a chance to say goodbye to, whom they never expected to leave their company so soon. To say, well, at least they didn't suffer, is small consolation. But then you have the opposite side. After a long and protracted illness where a person has suffered for many years, to have someone come up, and I have witnessed this, to say, well, you know, my parents passed away very quickly and I never had a chance to say goodbye. At least you were able to be with them there during the last years, months of their illness. Really? You think the person who is grieving for someone that they have had to watch suffer for an extended period of time is grateful that the person had that time prolonged? And yes, if you find this to be the opposite of the first person, that's right, because each person's grief is unique, and each person's pain is keyed to the experience they have had. They do not need a rational analysis of the pros and cons of dying quickly or dying over an extended period of time. This is not what will bring them comfort. However, even those statements pale in comparison to the ultimate in stupidity that I have heard, where a person came to a mother who had just lost her child, a teenager, and said, I know how you feel. My dog died recently too. And I'm glad to see you all shaking your head. It's just, how dense do you need to be? I know that you are trying to find a point of empathy, a point of commiseration. But to say to someone who has just buried their child that you know how they feel, bad statement already, because you have also had to lose a pet. Well, if I need to explain to you the difference between losing a pet and losing a child, please make an appointment, and I will be happy to explain it to you in as much detail as necessary. So what do you say? Because as I said at the beginning, you can't just not show up. You can't just not be there for someone who is grieving. That would be incredibly inhumane and certainly un-Jewish. So what does our tradition ask you to say? I'm sorry for your loss? No. HaMakom yinachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avnei Yerushalayim. HaMakom, may the place, one of the names of God, comfort you, yinachem, B'toch sha'ar v'leiti Yerushalayim, among all those who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Now, what is the difference between this phrase and I'm sorry for your loss? Well, first of all, what is the first word of I'm sorry for your loss? Me. I'm sorry. Okay, I understand that you're not apologizing. It's not as though you actually were responsible, but is it about you? Should that be the first word you say? As opposed to HaMakom, God. And it's not about me giving you comfort, because I know how inadequate I can be. But God, there's a chance. There's a chance there that there might be some comfort if it is God that is providing the comfort. But look carefully. Why do we call God HaMakom in this formula of condolence? Why do we use this less common name of God? We do not say Adonai. We do not say Elohim. We do not say Eloheinu. On the one hand, there's a pragmatic reason, which is to say that we are avoiding using one of God's holy names, one of the official names that are of more restricted usage. But God has lots of other names that are not restricted and which are more common. Adon Olam, the master of the world. Ribono shel Olam, the Lord of the world. Yotzer HaOlam, the creator of the world. HaRachaman, the compassionate one, which seemed to be perfectly suited for giving condolences. And yet these were not chosen in the formula, but HaMakom, the place. This is because HaMakom has a special connotation. HaMakom is referring to God's persistence in all places, at all times. When we call God the place, we are talking about God being in all places. God is here with you as you mourn. He's not somewhere else but here, now. And therefore you can feel God's presence trying to offer what commiseration is available. HaMakom also carries with it echoes of HaMakom, the place where God's name was known most clearly, the city of Jerusalem, the temple. HaMakom, that place, was destroyed. The temple still lies in ruins. It has not been rebuilt, at least to the best of my knowledge. And so God, too, has suffered loss. In fact, by reminding ourselves of the destruction of Jerusalem, even if we are offering condolences to another person, we are saying God has been with us throughout all of these destructions. Just as God lost his temple, God knows we lost our city. We lost our lives, as explained in graphic detail through the chanting of Echa, the book of Lamentations. And God was there, mourning and crying and consoling us the entire time. HaMakom, the place, is there. B'toch sha'ar v'leiti Yerushalayim, among, God should offer you comfort among all of those who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Compare this to, I am sorry for your loss. I am sorry for your loss is very personalized. It seems like I am saying, your loss, I am sorry for this. This is sad, and I offer my condolences. I condole thee. But knowing that I have lost something, that's something I know. Being reminded that I am not the only one who has lost something. It may sound like this is erasing the individual. It may sound like it is diminishing your personal grief. But the first glimmer of hope that comes to one who is mourning is recognizing that they are not alone. Not only that they have God's presence, but that they are in the company of all of humanity. Every human who has ever lived has grieved and has mourned. It is simply a universal that cuts across every age and cuts across every culture on earth. We all grieve. You are among those who mourn. And those who mourned in the past are here to help you today, just as you helped them when they were mourning. And those who have gone through the experience can share this idea of what will help eventually. But at the moment, what they can do most is simply remind you that you are not alone. You are in the company of the billions who have gone before you. And we as Jewish people, Zion Jerusalem, the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem, we people who have mourned, perhaps for more reasons than any other on earth, who have a higher quotient of per capita grief than any other nation in history, we know what it is to grieve. And more importantly, we know what it is to console. We know that after the formula has been said, HaMakom after we have said this, we wait. And we take the lead from those in grief. Do they want to talk? Then we listen. Do they want to listen? Then we talk. Do they just want to sit? Then we sit. Are they hungry? We're Jewish. We feed them. Do they need a little encouragement eventually to get up, to head outside, to get a haircut? Then we help them with that. Do they perhaps need a little extra encouragement to go back to work, to begin to explore different parts of their life, to begin to taste slowly and gently over time the different moments of joy that life still contains? Then we are there to help with that. Do they perhaps need financial assistance because the grief has left them in a place that's not only emotionally distressed, but also economically distressed? Then we help them with that. The formula that we use, HaMakom Yinachem Echem, we are saying, God will comfort you, and I am willing to be the instrument of God. I am willing to do what is necessary to help lift you from this place, because I know you will do the same for me when I need it. I know you have done the same for me when I needed it. The formula is not the end of our obligation. It is simply opening ourselves up and opening up those who mourn to our presence and the presence of God. And this has allowed us to overcome and to endure and to rebuild from all of the catastrophes our people have ever faced, whether they be national or whether they be the personal, private pains of each family in their time of grief. We know how to mourn. We know how to rebuild. And right now, this community, this world, needs those skills more than some of our others at this time. So please, as instruments of God, as those who help God's presence bring comfort to the world, find the way that you can help. Find the way that you can console. Find the way that you can give hope and give help to those in need. We need you now more than ever. Shabbat Shalom.